a well-accepted fact that pesticides are a necessity. We can't live without them if we want to produce enough food for the U.S. population along with other countries. What do we end up creating, though, when we allow something unnatural to be used to enhance our food production, especially when it is a chemical that kills living organisms? There's a blight that's killing bees, not just a few, but billions, and their colonies. There is a USDA quote that 1/3 of what goes in our mouths benefits from bee pollination. Bees contribute to a significant amount of our crop production, and due to the death of the bees, will have a significant negative impact on our continuing crop production. The other issue is impacting humans. Researchers have been attempting to bring it to light for many years. Pesticides don't just kill bugs, they impact the health of human beings through not just direct exposure, but food and water that we eat and drink. What do we do, or what can we do? Pesticides are a necessary evil, but they provide us with many essentials: more food, better quality food due to the lack of issues such as crop-eating insects, and more convenience. According to the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency's website, there are purported benefits. Besides the obvious, chemicals control weeds and bugs. There is a direct return when farmers use pesticides of $3 to $5 on every dollar spent. This means a wider variety of produce available in our grocery stores, healthier crops available, and larger quantities for us to eat. Less known benefits are the fact that pesticides are used on cotton plants. This later transmits into clothing, sheets, blankets. Pesticides are also used to sanitize drinking and recreational water. Pesticides are used to protect against insect and rodent populations that cause and spread disease. Dr. Liu, one of the scientists that came up with the connection between pesticides and the bee colony collapse disorder, has been quoted as stating, "Pesticides are a tool we cannot afford to lose." Other scientists have stated pesticides are important, but we must use them responsibly and with caution. The EPA website also provided warnings and reference to Time magazine's article on the book Silent Spring, written by Rachel Carson. It is true pesticides have their place. It's obvious pesticides are a poison. We use them to kill the living organisms that eat our food. In the 60s, there was minimal regulation, and pesticides were used without the limits imposed today. The Silent Spring book exposed the insecticide DDT for its toxic effects and assisted in getting it banned. The author was accused of all manner of crimes simply for writing the information. How do we know that this pesticide isn't linked to the soaring rates of cancer in people over the ages of 40 today? The EPA website also stated specifically, chronic impacts of long-term exposure, including residues on food, could lead to death, and went on to describe how the drift from a target site can harm or kill non-target plants, fish, birds, and other wildlife. And misuse can lead to contamination of our groundwater and our dirt, our soil. To me, eating food and drinking water that has trace amounts of pesticides, which are poisons, is a little like licking gasoline. To summarize, there are long-term and unanticipated effects when we introduce something unnatural into our environment, which we've always known. There's a Boston Globe article, The Beekeepers, along with Psychology Today article Stealth, that states that pesticides are complex today. They are exposed to the seed, or the soil is pre-treated, and the pesticide grows inside the plant. And thus, systemic pesticides make the plants poison inside out. They're derived from organophosphates, which according to Psychology Today were nerve agents created during World War II. Imidacloprid, an American neonicotinoid pesticide, is currently used on soybeans, canola, and most of our corn. A red flag to scientists starting in 2006 expanded to include a decrease of 30% of the population of bees per year, and continues each year today. Due to this fact, scientists tested the bees using high fructose corn syrup with trace amounts of imidacloprid well below the EPA stated rates for human beings, and found that when they used the high fructose corn syrup for food for the bees, all of the colonies died. They found that it didn't kill the bees specifically, but it blocked certain nerve receptors and prevented the bees' muscles from engaging appropriately. It also affected their orientation, so they could not find their way back to the colonies. According to Stealth, mounting evidence also states detrimental effects on us. Organophosphate chemicals have been linked to significant issues for some time. In 1993, the National Academy of Sciences stated exposure to neurotoxic compounds at levels believed safe for adults could result in permanent loss of brain function during prenatal and early childhood development. At this time, in 2002, shortly thereafter, Dow Chemical Company withdrew their pesticide, which had been used on corn, grapes, apples, oranges, and almonds. Psychology Today also stated alarming links to pesticide use and ADHD, Parkinson's disease, and alarming changes in children's brains, along with reduced IQ points far greater than those found in newborns of mothers that had ate fish with significant amounts of mercury. Alarmed yet? I could spend the day stating how negatively pesticides affect our environment. Some are thinking we're all going to die of something. But is that what we want? Our children's little brains changed because they trust us to feed them the foods that we do and give them the yards to play in that they do? On the upside of the Stealth article, the matter is in our own hands. We are not without the power to protect ourselves and our children. We can consider organic foods, our own gardens, and the farmer's market, who often provide info on whether they farm organic. The Environmental Working Group, nation's leading environmental health research and advocacy organization, is an excellent source of info regarding foods, along with a shopping guide stating foods that should be bought organic and should not, such as a dirty dozen, foods that are found to be especially toxic due to the amount of pesticides. You should also wash all produce. These products are available in most large grocery stores, which can help to reduce the residue on the surface and thus help to reduce the transfer when cutting or peeling. If we can't live without, what's the answer? Hoping researchers will come up with answers for the poisons that we're using in our environment, and buying organic and washing foods from other sources or gardens. Whether or not you believe there is a considerable merit to the threat of exposure for you and your family from pesticides used on our foods, it's at least important to become better educated on the issues at hand. It's important to have proper awareness, which will allow you the ability to make good decisions about what we expose ourselves and our children to, and to decide what is outside of our comfort zone. History has shown we cannot depend on government agencies created to protect us to do just that. We need to make sure that they are not doing our thinking for us. We need to take a serious look at the events, such as the bees that are dying, and decide how it impacts us and our environment to better protect ourselves from the hazards that we are exposed to on a daily basis.